Welcome back, family, to the Servant Real. I'm your host, Don Cello, the Servant King, and I'm back with another one, man. My brother from another, Mr. Jesse, the owner and founder of Upland Clothing.
Yep.
Man, he gonna get into his story on how he got into clothes. He's also got his own podcast. He's a podcast host, and we're gonna tap into all that today. So what's
Yeah.
going on, bro?
What's up, bro?
Man, appreciate you for joining me.
Of course, of course.
Man, so let's start from the beginning. What was the age? At what point did you know fashion, clothing, designing was gonna be something that you wanted to get into?
Bro, it was kind of like mid-teens probably. You know what I mean? Probably like whenever I started skating is kind of when it happened, you know. I was like 14 probably. So kind of, probably 16. I started skating at 14. So 16 kind of when I started dabbling with like fashion and design and stuff.
So what was the kind of give me the start though? I know a lot of times people make shirts. We make shirts.
Yeah,
all the
of course.
time. You
Yeah.
can put anything on the shirt.
Yeah.
But as you can see, you got the skull caps, you
Yep.
got socks, you got he got everything.
Everything.
What was that transition, right? From just wanting to do a shirt.
Bro, like when I was a kid, I always wanted to do everything. Like I always had that vision. Like I was never the guy that was like, "Oh, I just want to make shirts forever." So when I was young, I always wanted to make more things. I just didn't know how and didn't have money and stuff, But I seen like other brands, I just studied. I study a lot. So I study other brands and I noticed that's the way you go up, You kind of stay stagnant making t-shirts in a way, and making certain items, but I just noticed that when brands started pumping out all these different items, they started, blowing up. And I was like, that's cool, man. And it's creative, It lets you really get creative.
And I can see you big on the branding side, as we talked about before.
Yeah.
You got more than shirts.
Yeah.
Brands. You got basketballs.
Yep.
Air fresheners.
Yep.
What's that like? What's the vision for that? Like, what's taking you to the point now you want to put Upland on everything?
On everything, dude. I don't know, man. There's just it's like the simplicity of design, like because a lot of the stuff I do is pretty simple. The air fresheners are a little bit like a little bit more in detail, I guess. But like the basketball is pretty simple. Just simple design stuff. I don't know. It's just something about the design that's the simplicity is always. It just catches my eye.
You have you got an interesting story. I was listening to your podcast one night, and you talked about going to Wayne's house.
Oh yeah,
you're very big into skateboarding.
Yeah,
kind of tell us how that came about.
All right, so I was like 16, bro, and my best friend at the time, his dad was teaching Wayne how to skate, right? And I don't know how he got the gig. I don't know how any of this happened because Wayne is a big figure. I mean, that's not a little rapper. That's an OG in rap, bro.
Right.
And so my buddy was like, "Hey, we're gonna be skating at Wayne's house," and he lived in Miami, right? So it's not terribly far, but it's still pretty far. And he was like, "If you want to come, skate with us, come on."
Right.
And obviously my mom was like, "Yo, you're tripping. I'm not taking you." Obviously, so I think it was a weekend, and I just got a Greyhound bus by myself, and I just went to Miami and skated at we skated at his house, and then we went to a skate park called Ramp 48, and he rented the whole thing out, so it was just us. Yeah, and he's like not good at skating at all because he just started. He's a grown adult, just starting.
Absolutely.
But the fact that he's trying, bro, is crazy, man. And he has medics on standby. Like he has a diet plan. Like he has all, dude. It's crazy, bro. But yeah, so we went to his house. We skated his rooftop. He has a small rooftop skate park. And then he also has a training facility that he built. It's called the TF that he has. It's an indoor skate park built just for him.
Wow.
Yeah.
And that had to be a great experience.
Dude, it was crazy. This dude has got some money. I'll tell you that. This guy's got some real money, bro. So it was cool. That was the craziest thing I've ever done.
So now you say that you've been into designing since 16. So I'm assuming skateboard and all that was something you kind of grew up under. Talk about that transition from now wanting to, because you have to be an entrepreneur. You have to have the business mind, the business skill sets to do what you're doing.
Of course.
All right. Is that something you always had? You grew up with that, or is that something that you developed as time went on, as you grew into your brand?
Dude, it's something you have to develop for sure. Like I always like wanted to be like my own boss. I'd like work at jobs, and I'm like, dude, I am not cut out to be like told what to do. I'm not like I was never like cut out to just make money for someone else.
Right.
Which people do it all the time. That's how the world works.
Right.
But just for me independently, I was like, I'm better on my own. I have my own thoughts. I have my own ideas. I want to get out there. And that came from skating, because skating is such an individual sport that you create your own things.
There's no coaches.
There's no like nobody telling you what to do. So you just create your own rules and you kind of do your own thing. You're out on the streets. You see a ledge and I choose to do this. You might see that same ledge and choose to do something else, right? But like in basketball or football, you all do the same thing, right? There is no like, hey, maybe I could do it this way. It's like, no, you have to do it this way. That's how the ball gets to this guy or whatever. You know what I mean?
Right.
So that's where it kind of comes from a early age,
Fashion is, like you hear all the time, the fashion industry is one of the most difficult industries to get into because of such as the big players, and then like we talked about off camera, you have so many of the people at the beginning stage who might have a plug or they might have some information, but they hugging it tight. They don't even want to share the information or help someone else out. So how was it for you kind of getting over that roadblock?
I think like clothing and stuff is like one of the hardest industries because it takes money to make the money, right? It's not like if you're a rapper or you're a football player or you're a basketball player, you're usually signed to a contract and you're signed to you're already signed to an organization that is known, right? So they have the blueprint. All you do is you're just the figurine that follows through with it, right? In business and stuff, you have to make money to fund more products that make money, right? And that costs a lot of money. So like if you come from a family that's maybe well off, maybe that's a little bit easier. But if you come from somewhere that's like you're kind of struggling already, that's incredibly difficult, almost impossible.
It's a lot of sweat.
Yeah, because you're juggling a bunch of different lifestyles. You're trying to figure out your own independent life where I got to eat, I got to pay rent, blah, 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 with one income and fund a business, right? So like, let's say if you're a rapper, you have a craft. All you got to do is sit behind a mic every single day and grind with your, it's lyrics. You don't really have to put a lot of money into it. I mean, obviously you put money in everything, but not as much. Clothing, if you don't put money in clothes, they don't get made. So that is like the only way to progress is to put money in it, So it's incredibly hard.
Name some of your inspirations, some of your fashion inspirations, some of the people that you came up looking up to and saying, man, I would love to work with them. I would love to be like them. Or maybe even I could do it better than them, and I'm going to do it this way instead of that way. Kind of talk about that.
Dude, it's funny when you're a kid, like who you idolize compared to, like, when you idolize somebody and you kind of get next to them and you realize, oh, man, like that ain't all what it was. That's not who I thought it was. It's crazy because there's a local brand in town that I used to idolize like crazy, wear all the stuff, and you kind of get to the same level as them. And you kind of, you meet them and you hang out with them and stuff, and you're like, man, this guy is not cool. Like, this guy is
hyped up about nothing.
Yeah, like this guy, like his brand is cool, but this individual is not cool. He's kind of a gatekeeper. He's kind of like, I don't know, just not friendly. You know what I mean? And you start realizing, like, all right, I can do it better. I'm gonna do my own. I'm gonna do it better. And there's a brand called Kith in Miami. They have a store in Miami, and they're one of the biggest brands. And I really was inspired by them. Like, that's who I inspired right now. That's who inspires me right now. But yeah, I used to really just get inspiration from this one brand of Jack's, man, when I was starting out. And I was like, dude, that brand's lit. But you meet him and you're like, I don't know, never mind.
Robert, and you yourself, man, you in some stores.
Oh, yeah.
You stores yourself. Tell us some of the stores that you're in. People can come.
Oh, I'm in like 6 stores right now. I just picked up a new one at the Orange Park Mall. So we're in the Block Skate Supply. I'm in Aqua East. I'm in a little one called Skateboard City. It's in Neptune. One in St. Petersburg. A lot of them in Jack's, but that's the goal now, is just to get out of Jack's. I mean, I'm in like every area of Jack's, Springfield, Orange Park, the beaches. I mean, there's only so many shops here too.
Right, absolutely, yeah. So kind of tell, because this guy is beyond just shirts and pants, man. You got socks, you got basketballs, you got air fresheners, you got everything. What's next? What's next on the agenda for Upland that you want to kind of take over?
Really, the goal right now, man, is to like make better products. Like, that's always my goal, is to make more custom pieces that are literally like completely my own. Like, I have a beanie that come in this winter, and it has like a cool print all over it, and it's just Upland all over it, with a cool print, and it's like super custom, manufactured, cut and sewn from fabric to, So it's pretty cool. That's like the main goal. I noticed like when these brands start popping off, that's what they do. They have individuality, right? Like this shirt is cool, but it's not really like individual because there's a lot of brands that do tennis rackets, blah, 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 which is cool, right? But when you start doing stuff that has your logo and your just brand all over it, it's like, whoa, bro. Like we know you didn't just buy that and print on it. You know, we know that came from somewhere.
Right. So better quality. And I think people kind of lose focus on that too because so many times we just trying to get on the new thing.
Yeah.
When we can improve what we have. So much room to make whatever we providing at that time.
It is, man. And it's you can always one up yourself. You just got to think about it. And you got to take a step back and say, all right, what can I really do?
Right. So on top of Upland, you also podcast host.
Yep. Started one recently.
Tell us the name of the podcast and tell people where they can.
So the name of the podcast is called the Elixir Podcast, and you can find it on Apple Music. Apple Podcasts, I guess it is. I don't really know, but Apple Podcasts and then Spotify's. Usually all my listeners come from Spotify, usually. So I don't really know the Apple one. But, yeah, it's called the Elixir Podcast. So basically what it is, bro, is I just interview. Like kind of what you do. I just interview other local creative people to, like, give them a platform to, like, I guess, tell their story. Right. Because everybody's got a crazy story.
Everybody.
And some stories are pretty normal and average, and some stories are crazy, and some, everybody starts at different points, right? So it's just cool to hear and see what other people got going on,
And that's what I was gonna ask. Like, what's that inspiration? Like,
it's like
to hear those, but that's what it is.
Yeah, that's kind of what it is.
I want to hear other creative story. What was your background? What pushed you to do?
Like, what made you start a business and go through with it? Because usually the people I interview have been doing it for a little bit. I try not to interview people who are just starting out because you never know if they're gonna stick to it.
Right.
But so I usually interview them, and it's like, what made these people get into that? Like, I know how I got into it, but like, I know you hear a whole different story, and it's like we're on the same journey but come from completely different backgrounds, and we found this same topic. It's really weird, It's a cool world. I love it.
Right. Do you get that a lot with people that also want to make clothes? Like people that say, "Hey, man, Jesse, I wanna get into this fashion thing. I wanna start my own brand." And then you pull them clothes, and then next thing you know, they hear a couple no's, and they're like, this ain't for me.
Of course, bro. Like, everybody hits me up. When you start getting, I'm sure for you, people hit you up like, hey, man, I want to start a podcast. How do I do it? Like anything that you kind of are good at. Not really, I wouldn't say you're learning always, right? But you're good at what you do.
Right. Appreciate it.
People hit you up and are like, how do I do it? Because they want easy. They want an easy ride. They're like, oh, he knows it. I'm just gonna ask him.
Right. Either that or they didn't see when I just had an iPhone.
Yeah, of course. Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That's all it was. I'm in my house and the wall in the back.
It's so frustrating. So they hit me up and I tell them things and stuff. But like, if I get a vibe that they're not gonna be like serious, I'm like, I'm gonna just tell them little information and like But if somebody's really dead serious, bro, I help them out all day.
Do you think that's a lot in entrepreneurship, or now that it's become such a cool thing? Everybody says they want to do it.
Yeah.
But then once it's time to put in.
Yeah, I think it's so cool right now. And everybody wants to do it because it is ultimate freedom. I mean, when you can build something of your own that, you don't have a boss, it is complete ultimate freedom. I mean, every judgment call I make, every bit of money I've ever made from it is strictly, think about that. Every single dollar that's been in my bank account from my business is from my head. It starts with an idea. Think about it, bro. Like it's like people don't really think about how actually powerful it is, bro. Like, it's an idea. It goes onto paper. It goes to a factory. They make the product. I sell the product. A store buys my product, and that store sells the product. That journey is like mind-blowing. Right? Yeah. Every day I wake up, and it's a new day, and I'm like, what can I create? And that creation made me money. Let's say it's not even a lot, bro, because a lot of people are like, oh, I didn't make $100,000. I suck. It's like, bro, you made $20, right? Off something that you created. In your head, whether that's art, whether that's music, whether that's whatever it is. It could be something silly too.
I think people want to make that $100,000 overnight.
Overnight, bro. And like, what happens when they want to do that? You're skipping the necessary steps that it takes to become that person. These are necessary steps you have to take. You have to fail.
You have to fail. You have to fail.
Yeah.
You have to hear no.
Yeah.
You have to have doors slammed in your face.
Yeah.
People to call you crazy. Who would want to do that?
You have to have that. And if you don't, then you will fail. Because you'll think your stuff don't stink all the time, and you think, you're a big shot. I know guys like that. I know privileged people who are like really privileged growing up, and they think they don't got to do certain things to make it, and it's
or everybody should accept whatever they pushing. I should say, I should just automatically accept.
Yeah, because all their friends, all their rich kid friends, and all their rich parents are like, yeah, we love everything you do. It's like, that's not the real world, man. That's your little world over here in Richtown, or whatever. That's not how the real world operates. So, yeah, I think it's a journey. I think people will skip the journey.
Yeah, you talk about that a lot when you were doing the podcast on your own, which is what I really like because people don't want to hear the blunt truth.
Yeah.
But in this game, you got to have some tough skin.
Because I've always wanted the truth as a person, as an individual. Because I just said, tell me the truth. I'll reevaluate my standards and where I'm at in my life, and I'll progress from it. I've never been a guy who's like, you tell me the truth, and I'm like, oh man, I suck. You know, I hate my life. It's like I've always been like, what do you think? All right, cool. Let me jot that down, and let me see if that works for me, and I'm gonna reevaluate. Right. And if it doesn't work for me, if I think what you're saying is kind of dumb, I'm like, okay, no worries. But if I'm like, maybe that's true. If things aren't working in my life, and a guy comes along and says, hey, they're not working because of this, I'm like, okay, probably right. I mean, you know what I mean? Especially if it's like an older head. Absolutely. I'm like, that older person's probably right, man. Might not be, but might. But a lot of people just think like you hit 25 and you're an adult and you know everything. Man, you got a kid and you have a full-time job and you master the world. Yeah, there's nothing else to learn and stuff. And it's like, even when you're dead, bro, you never know. Right. You never know anything. Right. All of us are just walking around hoping and learning and guessing.
And old people say it all the time. You learn something new.
That's like legit, bro. My grandma used to tell me that, and I used to think like, oh, you're silly or whatever. And I'm like, no, that's dead serious.
Every day.
Every day.
New. And one thing I say now is, the more I learn, the more I find out there's so much more
exactly
for me to learn.
See, and this is what separates people too, bro. You learn something every day, but not everybody applies what they learn. So that's the realest thing is like how to take daily action to get real results, right? Yeah. So we all hear things and we all learn them. And there's a lot of smart people. But that is completely meaningless if you don't use it.
So you can have a mentor, you can have a coach.
Bro, you can have everything. Courses you can have the best parents, you can have a full household, you can have everything. But if you don't know how to apply it every day, because you don't apply it once, right? Applying everything to your life, bro, is repetition, and then over time it works, It's like, then you don't get nowhere. And then like you look at other people who have something more than you and you're like, oh, they're lucky, and you start the blame game. You're like, oh, they had this and they had that. It's like, no, the truth is they just do things that you don't do. That's how simple life is, bro. Like rich people do stuff that we don't do.
We don't do.
That's why they're rich and we're not.
But they don't have any more time in a day.
Exactly. And that's what like people don't get. So that's what I'm trying to teach people is I'm like, bro, you got to apply it. Don't come to me and talk to me about anything. I don't care what comes out of your mouth. I do not care. Not to be disrespectful or mean at all, but I'm like, if I don't see it or see you trying, you don't have to achieve it, bro. I just want to see you trying. I want to see you make a shirt fail. Send me a picture. Send me a picture of fail. Hey, accomplished. Go back to fail. You know what I mean? Like I want to see it to get results, man. Absolutely. That's how we grow.
Absolutely. Man, and listen, I want to say this to you, and like I say to anybody that I ask to come on the show, man, I'm a fan.
Yeah,
and I
appreciate that.
I see the movement.
Yeah, thank you, bro. You see the socials?
I see it. I see it, and I think that's where people, inspiring entrepreneurs, kind of get hung up on.
Yeah.
Right. I see you now. I didn't see when you started with a basic shirt out of the wrap. In Walmart, I don't see. I mean, I hear it, but I didn't see that.
See it. And it's different hearing it and seeing it too. That's true.
I think people see just that, and they're like, "I want to be that."
Right, and that's why a lot of times, man, on like my socials, I try to bring up old posts. Like when I was like definitely going through trouble. And I'm like, I try to redo it every week or something because people really don't understand. Like I could say, "Hey, I was homeless," and then if you didn't see me homeless, you're like, "He probably was," but it's different when you see it, right, or something. So it's like when I post certain pictures and I'm like, hey, this is my first shirt. You see the first shirt. Then the kid seeing that's like, oh my God, that's garbage. I could do that. So then they start it, and I'm like, that's exactly what it's for because
it's relatable.
It's relatable, man.
It makes it relatable. And then I think it brings you to life.
Yeah.
It's like, okay, that shirt was trash.
Yeah. So like, dude, let me do my
but I can be there.
Exactly. That's hard for me now is the unrelatability. Is like you're in the middle. You're not at the top, you're not really at the bottom. You're kind of like a little bit, in the middle. And the people at the bottom that you kind of grew up with don't really relate to you, right? Because you're trying to upgrade your life and stuff. And the people at the top can't really relate to you because you're not really, they're still above you. So you're kind of like, in this little lonely world of like, well, I'm just trying,
Absolutely. So, man, tell the people where they can find you, all your social media handles, where they can get some Upland gear from, basketballs, car fresheners, air fresheners, everything, bro. Let them know where they can get you at.
Yo, so the personal Instagram is just Jesse Ferrell, and the brands page is the clothing brands page is UplandClothingCo on Instagram and Facebook, and that's really all I use. The podcast is the Elixir Podcast, Spotify, Apple Podcast. You can listen to that. I interview local people. So if you're interested in business, and it's not just clothing, I interview everybody, like chefs, real estate people, whatever it is, like, so you guys can really learn. And then the website, you can check out my website for all the clothes, is www.UplandClothingCo. And, go to the Orange Park Mall, bro. Yeah. Leveled Up is the store. I just fully loaded it. So if you want some gear, Orange Park Mall is where it's at right now.
Bro, I appreciate you.
Of course, bro.
Again.
Of course.
I really appreciate you for coming through, man. And I hope that anybody, especially people that's, you inspire, you want to get into the clothing, the fashion industry, hopefully that you can listen to a story like this and say, okay, I'm in the right place. Even though I'm just starting, I'm in the right place. Even though everybody said this shirt, those pants was trash, I'm in the right place because, like you said, you got to just... You got to just start it. Yeah, you got to just start. Best advice. So we appreciate y'all, man. Hope you got something out of this. And, just like always, we'll be back next week. Yo. Let's go try this.